During the production of the documentation accompanying my project, one of the most labor-intensive phases is related to dimensioning all the graphic drawings that I extract directly from my model. By graphic drawings, I mean, for example, views and sections. Allplan 2026 helps us in this case by introducing a new concept of dimensioning rules. Rules that will be automatically applied to all my sectional views in order to obtain all the measurement lines and dimensions completely automatically based on a series of instructions that I will provide directly to Allplan. What kinds of rules could I define? For example, I could define that I want only certain specific types of components to be dimensioned, such as only the various openings within my walls or only the different kinds of reinforcements inserted in my model and so on. Everything is completely customizable. Allplan comes with a set of sample dimensioning rules, which you will be able to modify according to your needs. But let's try to take a quick look at how it all works. Here we are inside Allplan, where I have a wall and some reinforcement bars. At this point, if I try to modify this type of view and move to the label section, we can see how I can automatically apply information about the maximum dimensions of my wall. Next, let's try to access the program definitions, and here we select the last item, dimensioning rules. As you can see here, we have a whole series of dimensioning rules available. Very well. At this point, let's focus our attention, for example, on the openings to see how I can, on one hand, specify that in the analysis of that type of element, only windows, doors, or French doors should be considered. On the other hand, I can also define all the graphic styles. So let's go back to editing my view, return to the label button, and select the last button, which is precisely for the dimensioning rules. At this point, I decide which rules come into play, for example, reinforcements and window openings. Very well. Let's click Apply. And at this point, of course, the program has only dimensioned the rebars. However, when I go to insert a window opening, what will happen? New dimension lines will automatically be added. Let's move back into the definitions field to go and generate a new type of rule regarding the reinforcement. So maybe I copy an existing rule, give it a name, set a filter so that it selects only the rebars, and then I decide, for example, that to distinguish the reinforcement diameters, I want that type of information to be inserted within a context, a frame. So I essentially use a whole series of syntax options to improve the readability of my dimensioning. Once I confirm, I select my preferred view and indicate that I no longer want to use the default reinforcement label, but rather the one I have just customized. So in this particular case, I select Massimo, and then if I wish, I might also add a total. Note that if needed, I can also decide the order of representation, so I choose which rule should be placed first. I click OK, then Apply, and there you have it, a fully customized type of dimensioning, and everything happens completely automatically.